Good morning, my good man, Ted.
There he is. Good to see you, Kevin. Good morning.
Good
Happy
morning.
Friday.
Yes, it is a happy Friday indeed with all the news and the media. Well, forget the media, but all the stock market issues and um, all the deceit. I just read this morning about the Luckin Coffee over in China lying about their 2019 numbers. Um, and it's just shocking. It's just shocking how we invest our time and money in this world. And I'm actually pretty much looking at China as well because we're in this pandemic because of mismanagement, because a country is a business, and also Ted because of literally they don't care. They don't care about the world. You know, uh, we have to serve our country. That's what we're doing right now. And that's what I'm talking to you because I'm so concerned right now with the coronavirus, where we're going, what we're doing, that I needed to speak to a financial expert because I'm not one myself. That's why I have you, Ted, in my back pocket. So anyway, let's get this started. I apologize, a little bit of a rant there. This is Ted Learakos. Ted works for United American Mortgage Corporation. One of my favorite people in the world. You're actually my second interview, Ted.
Well, thank you. I'm honored.
Yeah, absolutely. You know who my number one is, right?
Your wife?
That's good. Don't tell her that. Don't tell her that. I'm trying to hide that away from her. Actually, I just interviewed Tony Fletcher yesterday.
Ah, a legend.
Absolutely, and I put that live this morning. So when you get a chance, it's a fun interview. He's
I look forward to seeing it. Tony's a very sage man with a lot of experience behind him, and I always look forward to anything that comes out of his mouth.
absolutely. And you know what? You know you're getting the real deal. You know you're not getting some BS, some wishy-washy, some kind of nonsense. You're getting the real deal. Ted, this is about you though. Ted, this is mortgage, not really 101, but I need to know from you if you can help the viewers. What's the best mortgage product you have out right now? This is the 3rd of April. We have another 20 odd days left in, being quarantined, in confinement. A lot of people, actually 10 million, close to 10 million or more, give or take, have lost their jobs now. They're on unemployment. I'm sure there's more than that cannot pay their rent. I'm talking for April, because March is already passed. This massive dilemma. What's the best solution for those of us that are in agreements with banks and institutions where we have a mortgage, we have payments that need to be made. We don't want to go into foreclosure. We don't want to lose our homes, Ted.
Well, I think the first thing I want to say is to all of the borrowers out there, future ones, people who are looking for properties and people who currently have mortgages, don't make the mistake that has been made in the past relative to loan modification. This is something that hurt our ability to secure financing for people in 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and today, because when they did modifications, they did not realize that it was a hit to their credit. And modifications were viewed as just barely more acceptable than a foreclosure. So I would advise, your flock to reach out to their servicer if they've lost their job or if they're struggling to make the payment. Reach out to their servicer and get a document in writing as to how are they going to handle a missed payment. Some lending institutions are putting it onto the back end, which is fine because that's as agreed, so it doesn't hurt your credit.
Okay.
Some are actually issuing forbearance where just don't make the payment, basically a pause. That doesn't hurt your credit. The other institutions are going to be standing in the line of the federal government to get repaid for payments that are not being made. That's modification. That's not good. So as far as your original question of what's the best loan product, now that we've seen this turmoil occur, and I fear that our darkest hour in this mess has not come yet.
Right.
Your opening remarks relative to, how other countries are handling this is very true. That, we can't dance around the fact that China, exported this to the world. And, but I will tell you that relative to loan products, what you have seen is a deterioration of stated income, bank statement loans, alternative documentation loans. But what you have also seen is incredible pricing on the Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, FHA,
Right.
VA loans.
Right. Absolutely.
And you're seeing, because this pandemic hit us at a time when the US economy has never been stronger, we have the ability to overcome this. So I want this to be somewhat positive in the sense that, yes, bank statement loans pretty much DOA, dead on arrival, as they say. But, out of the phoenix, out of the ashes rises. They'll be back. And I really believe that when the market does get a handle on this pandemic, and when is this going to come to some sort of manageable conclusion, you're going to see a V-shaped recovery. And you're going to see
I like it.
sharp people, yeah, V-shaped, sharp people are going to, sharp people are going to be buying property. Because look, let's face it, if you buy stock, it can go up, it can go down, but also it can turn into a worthless piece of paper.
Right.
You buy dirt, you buy a property, and it can go up and down, but it is not going to go away. It's going to be there. And that's the point, is that you can batten down the hatches, as they say, and and survive and make good money in real estate.
I love that. I actually have a friend of mine. Her husband's a real big wig at Nike, and her sister worked at a bank. And her sister said to her, if you can't afford a home right now, buy just like a piece of land. Buy just a piece of land and just sit on it. So she bought this dirt, and I didn't realize dirt actually an economy. She bought this piece of dirt next to the freeway and just sat on it for years and years and years. A developer comes around, pays her like tenfold, 10x on original investment, plus all the interest that she's made and so forth from the deal. She couldn't believe that dirt was an economy. That's the one lesson I took away from that. So you saying real estate, yes, it never depreciates, long term at least. And then also dirt, it is an economy where I'm looking at, I wake up every morning, Ted, I look at the stock market, and it is scary. And what I like about you is that there is, we've got to think forward, we've got to think into the future, and we have to hedge ourselves towards that. And ultimately, every wealthy person, even our current president, made his money in real estate. The Robert Kiyosaki's, all of these, they own some, the Grant Cardones. There's lots of them, Ted, lots of them. I know even
And what's interesting about what you're saying is that if you look at some of the very wealthy people who made their money in other avenues like tech, made a ton of money in tech, they generally speaking buy real estate because they know that they may have struck it rich with an idea, right time, right spot, obviously tremendous intelligence. But when they're faced with, okay, now you've made all this money, what am I going to do with it? You know what they do with it? They buy real estate.
Yes, absolutely.
It's an interesting thing that we have so many clients over 40 years of doing this, and United American has been doing this for 27 years. We get to see the clients come back to us years later, and we get to see the dramatic increase in wealth. We get to see the dramatic mistakes that many of our clients make. We recently saw a gentleman who he was looking to purchase a property. He was a little tough relative to down payment.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, he calls and he says, okay, I've got my down payment now. And I said, well, 120 days ago, you didn't have it. Is it a gift? He goes, no. He goes, I put $250,000 into Zoom stock as soon as I heard.
Oh, oh, that's brilliant. Oh, that's so brilliant.
Bottom line is, you and I right now are speaking uh, with Zoom. So
Oh,
Kevin,
Zoom.
Here's the moral of the story. Today, we are helping fund a gentleman's down payment
Absolutely. Oh,
by using Zoom. And so it's an example. It's just an example. I mean, we can't sugarcoat the negatives. This is
yeah, yeah,
this is a time where we've never been down this road before. We've
yeah.
obviously seen many bumps in the road. The S&L crisis of the 80s, that was not
Mm.
fun. Um, the meltdown where they made the story, The Big Short, the movie.
And I love the.
I can't wait to see the movie that is going to come out of these times.
Right, right.
Maybe our interview will be resource material.
Absolutely.
But the point is that this is the first time in history where the entire world is at a war, but
Right.
not with each other. The entire world is
Mm.
fighting a war against a virus. I mean, there's so many amazing stories that have come out of this
Yeah.
where countries are helping countries that are natural enemies. Because look, the virus doesn't discriminate against a particular country or a particular race.
Person, absolutely, yeah.
It hits everybody. It hits everybody.
And it's not
You
age
know,
either. And now it's not age either. I mean, it's mutated that age doesn't. There's 13-year-olds, there's 30-year-olds dying the next day. I just read that this morning, Ted. A young
really.
man got it like say Monday, Tuesday, passed away.
Yeah, there's no way. It's the
Mm.
first time this virus, it's a brand new mutation that we've never seen before. And
Mm.
while I'm not a doctor, I can assure you that I'm batting down here at home, and Mrs. Learakos isn't letting me walk out the door.
Oh yeah, that's your blondie. Ted, I want to quickly explain something. Just, I know you're a financial guy. I know you're a numbers guy and a money guy, and I love that. That's why I'm interviewing you. But there's another side to you. So besides your understanding of the financial market, you have your own basketball court in your backyard, which I love. I think it's just epic. Um, there's another side to you, Ted, the human side to all of this. And how can me as a person that's not like you, who's a numbers driven human being, how can I protect myself, or what can I look forward to in the future? Because I'm not saying I'm scared. I'm concerned. I'm not scared, Ted. No, I'm scared. I know a lot of people are scared, and I sympathize with them. I'm concerned. I'm trying to understand how I can support them in having a positive movement forward. What can you bring to the table, Ted?
Well, numbers tell a story.
Okay.
And your job, my job, our job in our business is to, as eloquently as possible, with a bit of humor mixed in,
Wow.
deliver those numbers. We can have a numbers conversation that can be completely boring and make your eyes bleed, and you just don't want to hear anymore.
Yeah.
Or we can deliver those numbers in a manner in which it helps a client agree to move forward.
Okay.
I'm going to give you one quick example. Okay, so we have math that is completely dysfunctional in this market. I'm going to give you an example.
I'm working from home. I'm quarantined, Ted.
Thank
So
you.
you'll see family members.
You both are. Yeah, I got dogs on either side of me and a wife working somewhere in the rest of the house. But the point is, we work with numbers. And there's your baby girl. Just walk by. All right. So the point is that due to capacity issues and margin calls, where secondary markets are calling on banks and lenders to buy back loans because they can. In times of trouble, you start looking for an I that wasn't dotted, a T that was buy back a loan. Yeah. And now that company has to make a decision on buying back a loan. So it affects pricing. The most dramatic effect in pricing is that you see very favorable interest rates if you lock for 15 days. So when you're going to buy a house and you see that you can get, say, 3.25 on a 15-day lock for a 30-year fixed, but it's 3.5 for a 30-day lock. and the math doesn't work for you personally at 3.5. You say, I don't want to buy that house at 3.5 because the payment's too high, but I'll buy the house at 3.25. But obviously you can't lock for 15 days when you haven't agreed to buy the house and the seller hasn't agreed to sell it. So how do you push that forward and manage that? Well, you have to be able to assure the client that, look, you are going to do what's best for the client. There's a contingency removal period in a purchase transaction. Use that contingency removal period to grow your business. For example, real estate is now, as you know, in fact, you were probably the one that told me, it's an essential service. It's designated as an essential service. Yet, you can't do an open house. So the question is, how does Kevin convince a client to purchase a house that they can't see? Well, you know, because you're doing it.
Right, exactly.
A virtual tour of the house. If you see the house with the technology that you possess, and you like the house, and then I can convey the numbers and make you feel comfortable that while you're in that contingency period, we will dot I's, we will cross T's. And when you get to the point of that contingency removal date, now you can strike. 15-day lock, you get what you want, and you move forward. If something happens dramatic and it goes up, well, get out of jail free card. You know, I think they call that desperate times call for desperate measures. And you and I are seeing it.
I like to get a jail card, absolutely, yeah.
We're seeing it. We're seeing people for the first time purchase houses sight unseen. I've never seen it before. And
also it was some kind of an incentive, you know, 20, 15,000 off the top, which is interesting. People are prepared to kind of negotiate now where before they were set on their price. You know, I want $1 million. Now there's some fluidity going on.
Whether it's your end, real estate, or my end, finance, the key word is pivot. We have to be able to pivot. You know, like you mentioned, my basketball court. I don't pivot like I did when I was younger, but the point is, when you're playing basketball, you're running, and then you instantly have to pivot to go to a different direction because the ball went in a different direction. Well, our business is a lot like that. We are having to make a dramatic pivot. And, you know, and I think that, you know, you have done it in the past, and you're going to do it again right now. And, you know, I just truly believe that while our darkest hour in this pandemic has not come yet, we're going to get out of this because the entire world is united to try and figure out a solution.
Right. And also, I think the human existence has courage. There's victory in us. I'm talking for the majority. I'm not talking for the negative. I'm talking for the positive. A lot of us, we believe in ourselves enough to know that this is going to be good at the end of the day for ourselves. We'll make the best of it.
Out of every crisis comes incredible wealth. Yes. Look at what the stock market has done. It has dropped dramatically. You have to be very aware that if you throw your money into the stock market now, you could lose even more. I would submit that buying real estate is a safer way to get back into the quote unquote market, because it's going to be, the economy was strong before this happened. That's, I think, the difference, frankly, between this event and 2007 and 8, is the economy was not strong. It was weak. The employment numbers were, I don't know, we were perhaps not exactly disclosing the people who had dropped off. I think the employment numbers were higher than even reported. And then when the financial crisis hit, it was basically a body slam on someone that was already weak. We were strong. The economy was strong. You know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Was strong. Everything was just wrong. And then this happened. Yeah. And I think that the recovery will be V-shaped if it happens sooner rather than later. You know, every day that goes by where the world is like 3/4 of the way shut down makes it harder to restart. I mean, I'm sure you've had old cars. If you just let them sit there and then you try and start them, you know, sometimes it doesn't start very quickly. But if you're driving them every day, it's just humming along. Well, that's kind of the analogy I would use relative to the economy. The longer our economy, this car, sits there, the
Yeah.
harder it's going to be to restart.
Yeah.
But real
I
estate
love
is
the
always
analogy.
there. The dirt never goes away.
Yeah, absolutely, Ted. Ted, you know, I know you better than most our audience, of course, and so I'm trying to get a little bit more deeper here. I'm going to leave the details in the description below if they can reach out to you, Ted, because I know you're not a financial advisor. However, when it comes to real estate, you know, you do know the numbers, and you can forecast. You can, in a sense, predict into the future where we're going, what's happening. I love to tell a story. I got my family here.
Your assistants, yeah.
My assistants, exactly. You know, I'm an ambitious man, so not only am I ambitious in business, but I also have a family of 5 children, so it kind of goes hand in hand. But I love them. That's my drive. What's your drive? What's your big why, Ted? Like your big why, Ted Learakos. You know, I call you the Greek legend. Yes, that is part of your roots. And also, another thing about Ted that I love so much is Ted also, I want to say maybe your hobby is fine dining. You own your own restaurant. You and your brother. I mean, you know, you're right there by the Angel Stadium. Can you tell us about like your big wine, a little bit about you as well, Ted?
Well, let me give you a bit of an example. The restaurant, the Catella Grill, is now closed because of the pandemic.
Of course. Sorry.
Well, and we're doing takeout food. So to show you how things just turn unexpectedly, a huge catering job came in to feed a bunch of children because there's no school, as you know.
Yeah.
So a lot of these kids in underprivileged areas who were getting their meal at school, sometimes their meal for the day.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Now are getting that meal, and we're providing that meal. That's my why. That's what motivates me, is being able to give back. Now, what motivates me in the mortgage business is my experience buying my very first house when I was not in the mortgage business in 1979. And you know, not to beat up the poor loan officer, may God rest his soul, but you know, I walked in to sign my loan documents, and my loan didn't look like anything like he told me on the phone. Yeah. And I called him and I said, this doesn't look like what we talked about.
You know, you're talking to exactly, yeah.
Can you explain what I'm looking at? He goes, yeah, sure I can. You sign the docs, you buy a house. You don't sign the docs, you don't get to buy a house.
Oh my goodness me.
So I thought to myself, and I said it to my wife, I can do what he does. I know math. I know math better than he knows math. So that was my motivation to get into the mortgage business. And to this day, there is nothing more exciting for any loan officer. Now, forget me, just any loan officer will tell you that the most exciting thing in their day is when you send a picture handing the keys to the client on the loan that we just facilitated for their new home. It never gets old. You know, they asked Michael Jordan one time, what was your favorite shot? And his answer was the one I just made.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So it's kind of like that for me in loans. What was the most exciting loan that you've ever done? The one I just did, where you handed the keys. You handed the keys to the client and sent me a picture of you handing the keys to the client. That's the most exciting loan I've ever done. Till the next one.
And Ted, your loans don't just end at residential, because I'm speaking for myself now. I've done business with you, Ted, and your team, a lot of your team members. A lot of them, especially Jessica back in the Newport days, back in 2014, Lee, German, Tommy, Cheapers, Vance. You got a big team. However, I keep coming back to you because you know you're the ring. You're the team leader. What I like about you, Ted, is you do residential, but I've come to you for $100 million deals. I've come to you for hotel deals, assisted living, senior communities, land developments. I mean, you've got a broad aspect or a prospect when it comes to lending, because
connections.
Los Angeles.
It's the connections over many, many years
Yeah.
where many times when, you know, when you've reached out to me, it's like I cannot personally figure out how to structure your loan, but I know someone who
Right.
specializes specifically in that. And so, you know, that warms my heart too when you're able to.
Yeah, Ted, I've come to you for many questions, even billboards. I mean, all kinds of stuff. We've done so much business together. But I've even come to you for advice on, you know, the business decisions. I've come to you a lot. Ted, yeah, I've confided in you a lot. So you're a man of many hats, my friend. You keep wearing the CEO hat. Ted, I want to thank you for your time. It's actually been fun. It's been fantastic. The most important thing is I really want people to be able to know that they can reach out to you and the kind of human being that you are. You come from contribution. You believe in home ownership. You believe that's at least most certain in our life than anything else really. And I appreciate that. So I'll put the contact details in below. I want to thank you for your time, Ted. And I really appreciate everything you've brought to me and my family's life and to my business, Ted, and to the relationship that you've introduced me to. And even who you work with. I mean, your right-hand guy is Al Hansling. That's another remarkable human being. And that's
The owner, he's the conductor of the orchestra, as we say.
He's got fans, exactly. Absolutely. But he's also, you guys have got a long relationship. You've been with the United American for how long, Ted? I mean,
Well, okay, so I met Al 20 years ago. 20 years ago is when I first met Al, and his reputation has always been absolutely perfect.
yeah, absolutely.
And it's, you know, and it's
He's
remarkable.
chiseled. He's chiseled. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's remarkable to see how he has helped all of us, my team in particular, navigate around this situation, because that's what he does best. You know, you sometimes don't see the true leadership come out in someone until times are tough. Then you start to see.
Like right now, we've never experienced it, Ted. This is unprecedented. There's no explanation for this.
It is great.
Yeah,
I'm going to give you one. I'm going to give you a great example of something that just occurred. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, because of course putting appraisers into homes is an issue, because many times an appraiser might say, I don't want to risk my life for $450, so I'm not going into that house.
Right.
Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac have just authorized drive-by appraisals. So now you don't have to have boots on the ground, and drive-by appraisals obviously are quicker because it's just a speed thing.
Wow,
and that just developed. And I will tell you that there is a lot of other changes that are coming. You're going to see appraisal waivers. So if there's a lot of comps in the area where an underwriter can go in through a system that's being set up right now and see that there's a lot of recent comps, they won't even do a drive-by appraisal. They just issue a waiver.
Oh, that's
and this is going to be, now hopefully when this whole market recovers, they keep some of those changes that they're implementing right now as an emergency measure. So listen, I know you got to go, and I really appreciate you.
Thank you,
having me on today. And you know, you are a rock star in the world of real estate, and it's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Ted, have a great day, my friend. You just got a goodbye from our 2-year-old there.
I saw that. I saw that.
You got your Coca-Cola kombucha, my friend. Cheers, buddy. Have a great day, Ted. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye. You too.